Wing Chun is a system that is supposedly developed between 300 and 400 years ago in the south of China by two women. There's no written evidence to substantiate its history. It's a verbal tradition. But the legend goes there were 5 masters from 5 different styles of Chinese martial art. They came together with the sole purpose of developing a new system. The purpose of this new system was to be a style of martial arts that was taught, could be taught much quicker than previous martial arts. Up until that time, it could take many years to master any system of martial art. The reason they wanted a style that was quicker to learn was because the Manchus, which were the northern tribe in China, had taken control of China. So it was a Qing dynasty. Before that was the Ming dynasty, and the Ming dynasty were majority of the Ming were Han people, and they were the majority of the population, and they wanted to regain power over the Manchus. Now the Manchus were very cruel. They forced the Han people to endure very high taxes, unfair laws. So the Han started having secret meetings, secret societies, and they wanted to devise a system of Chinese martial art that could be taught much quicker. And that way, one person could teach 10, 10 could teach 100, 100 could teach 1,000. They could grow an army, overthrow the Manchus. Unfortunately, the revolution never happened. The Manchus had, the legend goes, the Manchus found out what the Han were plotting in the Shaolin Temple. These 5 Grand Masters came together with the sole purpose of taking the most efficient and devastating techniques from each of their styles to create a more effective system. Again, that could be taught much quicker. So these 5 masters consolidated their efforts, but before they could start teaching people, the Manchus, as I said, found out what they were doing, and they raided the temple. They razed the temple to the ground. They burnt the temple to the ground, killing a lot of the occupants and scattering who was left in the temple to the 4 corners of of China. One of the Grand Masters was a Buddhist nun called Moy, and she escaped. And as she was escaping, she came upon a young girl who was orphaned in the attack. So she picked up this young child, fled to a village nearby, left the girl with a family that she knew who made and sold bean curd. It's a rough translation of the story, yes. Before she left, she renamed the young girl Wing Chun. Now, Wing Chun means radiant or to chant springtime. When you look at this character, it is a springtime, but it has a little voice box at the front with lines coming down the side. This is to say or to sing or to chant spring. Spring was known as the Ming dynasty, the enlightened dynasty, like the Renaissance in Europe. The Ming dynasty was like the Renaissance in China. There was a lot of development in medicine and art and literature and what have you. When the Manchus took over, they squashed all this down, So there was a cry to bring back the Ming. Yeah. So Ming is the springtime, to bring back the spring, to call out the spring. So she named the young girl Wing Chun. Now the nun then went to a monastery nearby, and Wing Chun was left with this new family who cared for her and loved her. And she grew into a beautiful young girl. Unfortunately, that beauty was a bit of a curse because it drew the unwanted attentions of a local gangster. So often when she was doing chores and shopping for her family in town, the gangster would see her, and because she was very pretty, he would harass her and tell her that he was going to take her, he was going to make her concubine. So this became concerning to her and her family. So they sent word to the nun, Moy, and the nun came up with a plan. She was to challenge the gangster in public. So sure enough, Wing Chun went into town the next day, and she found him, and he was eating at a restaurant, was surrounded by his cronies, his men, and she made a very public challenge. She said to him, "If you're not scared, meet me in 1 year in the town square and I'll fight you. If you beat me, I'll marry you or you become your concubine. If I beat you, however, you have to leave the district, the town.
Wow, what a deal.
All right, so the gangster laughs it off and says, oh, this is ridiculous. But because of the formality of the challenge, he's embarrassed into accepting this challenge.
Yeah.
So Yin Wing Chun goes away with the nun, and for 1 year she trains very hard and very diligently in the system that's never been taught. And it's also the nun's expression of the system, being a woman herself. So the year comes and goes. She returns back to the village to find that the village is like a carnival. People have spread the word that this young girl's going to fight this gangster. Some people have come to check it out, They've created a raised platform called the Li Tai, which is the platform they fight on. If you fall off the platform, you finish, yeah? So some elders of the village are going to, be the judges. And many people have surrounded the Li Tai, the raised platform. Yin Wing Chun makes her way up onto the platform. The bully is, laughing and thinking he has nothing to worry about. The people are jostling for position to see what's going to occur. One of the elders gets ready with a little gong to start the match. Dong hits the gong. Tat, tat, tat. The bully falls to his face, slips off the little tie. Bloodied nose falls on his back off the platform. She wins immediately.
Oh, wow.
Some people aren't even watching, and it happens so quickly that they miss it, and they're asking what happened. Nevertheless, she has won this competition. And the gangster is laughed out of town. His men have no respect for him anymore. And Yin Wing Chun goes on to further develop the system that the nun teaches her. And it becomes a bit of a running gag that these martial artists, because she's so pretty, martial artists from different styles keep coming to challenge her so they can marry her, and she keeps beating them. Now, she was betrothed to a person called Lung Bok as a child. And she actually did fancy him. He's a salt merchant. And he finds out that she's quite a good martial artist, and he doesn't want to marry her if he feels like she can beat him up. So she loses to him on purpose because she's fond of him. After they get married, she fesses up and says, I confess, I lost to you on purpose. He doesn't believe her. So they have another friendly contest, and this time she beats him easily. He's not mad, however. He only wishes to learn this new system that has no name up until this point. After he has learnt the system, he honours his wife by naming the system after her, Wing Chun, which is a radiant springtime, to sing springtime fist. Yeah. And that's the legendary history. As I said, there's no written evidence to substantiate its history. It was a verbal tradition, but it's a nice legend. Now, even though we don't know for a fact that these people existed, there's no written evidence, the system, the way it's constructed, leans towards the development being by a woman. And why do I say that? Is because is multitasking occurring. We're block and strike at the same time. It's a very tactical system, a lot of tactical footwork, a lot of less fighting directly, meeting force directly. So there we go. That's a part of the history.
So within the history itself, was there much judgment upon anyone that wanted to learn Wing Chun but for hundreds of years or because it was...
Well, up until that time, after Lung Bok, it was passed out 9 generations. I'm 9th generation disciple of Wing Chun.
Okay, yeah.
Up until 2 or 3 generations ago, it was all passed down through family members. It was not taught openly.
Oh, right, okay.
So it was taught from uncle to nephew for about 4 or 5 generations.
Yeah.
Then it came to a person called Dr. Lung Jan. Dr. Lung Jan he was a physician, a bone doctor. He was still teaching only his sons. And then the first outside family member came in, a guy called Chang Washun. Chang Washun was a 6-foot Chinese fellow. 100 years ago, a 6-foot Chinese person was a giant, yes.
Yep.
So Dr. Lung Jan was teaching his sons, and Chang Washun was a money changer as trade. He had already learnt some other martial arts because he had to protect his business.
Of course, yeah.
But Dr. Lung Jan had a very reputable reputation He had a very reputable reputation in being able to defend himself and defeat all comers.
Yeah.
So Chang Washun came and learned from Dr. Lung Jan, and he was the first outside family member to learn Wing Chun.
That's interesting.
Now, Chang Washun was Ip Man's teacher.
I was going to ask about Ip Man.
Yeah. Chang Washun was Ip Man's teacher. And when Ip Man went to Hong Kong to further his academic career at St. Stephen's, which was St. Stephen's in Hong Kong, with a lot of European education.
Yeah.
He built up a reputation of being able to defend himself against the bigger Indian boys and European boys.
Yeah.
Word came from Ip Man's classmates. One of Ip Man's classmates went home and was telling his family members about what Ip Man was doing, beating up these bigger kids.
Yeah.
And one of this boy's family members had someone over for dinner, and the man asked the young boy, how did he stand, how did he move, and what have you, and can you bring Ip Man to meet me? So Ip Man was then brought to this man, and it was a guy called Lung Bik, who was Lung Jan's son. Lung Jan was Chang Washun's teacher.
Yeah.
So the Dr. Lung Jan, who taught Ip Man's first teacher, Chang Washun, then met Lung Bik in Hong Kong, and then Ip Man learned from him as well.
Yeah.
But he was his second teacher.
I've heard variations of how the pronunciation of his name. I've heard of Ip Man, I've heard of Yip Man as well.
Yeah, it's actually as a Well, the difference is that it's just a romanization. It's like Wing Chun is spelt different ways.
Okay.
People brand themselves by spelling it slightly different. Right. When you actually pronounce, it's a Yip Man, not Ip Man. There's a y in there. But look, people copyright names, copyright positions. They want to make themselves different. Up until the Ip Man movies, everyone was spelling it with a Y. Y-I-P. But after the Ip Man movies, because they wanted to brand the name differently, it was just IP, spelled IP. So I don't know what the reasoning for this is, other than trying to claim ownership of a certain position. I don't know.